So we've reached a point where we'll be looking at the very first fundamental concept in programming, and that is of variables. So I like to think of a variable as a box. Okay, so all of us have had experience with boxes, right? We have used boxes before. Um, we know what an empty box is. We know how to put things into boxes, and we also know how to take things out of boxes. So, fundamental idea, boxes. In essence, all we will be doing in programming is taking values and putting them into boxes, and in some instances, asking the box to tell you what is inside. Okay, so manipulating values inside boxes. That's pretty much what programming is about. So I have 11. Okay, so I have this number 11, and I could put that number inside this box. No surprise there. So because I can put the value 11 into a box, I could also put the character capital A inside a box. Okay. I can also have multiple boxes. In this case, I have two boxes. So notice I have one value inside a box. Of course, we could extend this to 5 boxes, whereby each box has a particular character, and altogether these boxes give me apple. Now, we could also have empty boxes, so boxes that do not currently have anything in them. So let's look at a question. All right. What if I have these two boxes, 22 and 11? Okay, box 1 has 22 and box 2 has 11. So how could I swap the values inside those boxes such that I end up with 11 and 22? So what would the steps be? Now it turns out that the way we do this is not the way you would do it in real life. Okay, so I could easily take something out of one box, right, like a toy, and then put it into the next box, and then take what is in that other box and put it back into the first box. Okay, in real life that's what we would do. However, in programming it's not that simple, as we will see later on. Okay, another question. How could we swap the K with the capital O? Okay. Now, I made this question intentionally vague because I'm hoping that you will be asking yourself, well, there are two K's. So which K am I talking about? Is it the first K, the K in the first box? Or is it the K in the third box? Okay. And so we don't know. So my question is very vague. It's ambiguous. And so it turns out that whenever we are dealing with boxes, right, whenever we're trying to write a program, it's important that we assign a name to each box. Okay, so in this case here, you'll notice that I write age on top of the box as a label. So this box will have a name of age, and this age box, okay, will contain the value of 44. So again, we have a name for the box and we have a value that is inside the box. A very simple point, a very simple concept, but extremely important. Boxes have values and they also have names. That way we can identify the box. Now you will hear me say box, and you will hear me say variable. So I will use those two terms interchangeably, okay? However, they're the same thing. A box is a variable. Okay. So now I will rephrase the question and I will ask, how can I maybe switch middle and 3? Well, now I know clearly what the question is asking, right? So kindly swap the values in middle and 3. So where is middle? Well, that's the name of this box. And what is 3? Well, that's the name of this box. So I can easily swap them. Again, we don't really care about how it's done, okay? We will look at that later on. But I want to emphasize the point that because I now have given the boxes names, it's easier for me to think about. Okay, so now it becomes KKO. Now, the reason why I have been delaying giving you sort of the way how we would solve this is because I want to mention something extremely important. Okay, and so whenever you hear me say something very important, that's an indication that you should really pay attention. So it turns out that moving, okay, a value from one box to the next is destructive. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, before I discuss it further, I'm gonna look at this video, which I think will give you an idea of what I mean by being destructive. All right, so some of you might be familiar with chess, okay? But in any case, chess is sort of a aggressive game. And so let's look at this short clip with chess in action. Okay, so this is from a Harry Potter movie. Okay, so let me go a bit further along. Okay, and the two guys, they're playing chess, and notice what happens around the 25-second mark.
Knight to e5.
Okay, so he makes the first move. Okay, and
Queen to e5.
okay, so that's what I mean by destructive. Whenever we want to occupy a space that some other thing is currently occupying, then that thing that is currently there is destroyed. And the same thing applies in programming. We currently have 22 in this value 1 box and 11 in this value 2 box. So if I want to move this 22 into the value 2 box, then what actually happens is, right, this. Okay, so notice I now have 22 in both boxes. Well, what happened to the 11? Well, it was kicked out. It was effectively destroyed. So that's what I mean when I say moving something from one variable to another is destructive. Whatever was in that previous, or whatever was in that variable, whatever was in that box will be overwritten. That's a very important rule that you must always remember. Okay, right? So that 11 is gone for good. We can never get it back. So the question becomes, well, okay, I need the 11 because I want the 11 to be put into value 1. Right? And of course, the 22 should be in value 2. So how do I do that without destroying the 11? Well, again, it turns out that many people have thought about this problem and they have a solution. okay, a pattern, an algorithm. And all you need to do is to create a new box or to have a third box. So I have, in this example, I have num1 having 22, I have num2 having 5, and then I have this empty box called temp. Okay, so I have 3 variables. So step 1, I'm going to take, right, what is in num1, and I'm going to put it into temp, right? So again, into temp, I'm going to put num1, right? So into temp, I'm going to put num1. So I now have 22 in temp and 22 in num1. All right. So I think by now you should see the next move we're going to make, right? And that next move is to take num2 and put it into num1. So into num1, put num2, right? Good. So we have both 5s, and obviously, if you remember, the 22 would have been overwritten, but it doesn't matter anymore because we have it right here. And so now the next thing we need to do is rather straightforward. Take temp, take what is in temp and put it into num1. Okay, so into oh, okay, let me back up. Let me say that again. We need to now put the 22 here. Okay, all right, good. So into num2, put temp. Okay, so put what is in temp, which is currently 22, here. All right, and that gives us that. So I have done the swapping because remember originally I had 22 here in num1 and I had 5 here in num2, and so we simply use the temp box to help us achieve this swapping. Okay, so that is our first algorithm, okay, so to speak, our first pattern. Whenever you're asked to swap 2 values that are in 2 boxes, you simply use a third box to temporarily hold one of the values. Okay. All right. Now, whenever or going forward, whenever you see me say put or whenever you see put, I'm going to replace put with this equal sign. Okay. So when I said into temp put num1, what we really mean is to say temp is equals to num1. Okay, so num1 is put into temp. Notice, and this is very important, I always start, I read this starting from this side. Okay, so I have an equal sign, and there is something to the left of the equal sign, and there is something to the right of the equal sign. I always read this starting from the right of the equal sign. So what I'm saying here is take what is in num1, take what is in the num1 box, and put it into the temp box. Okay, all right, good, of course, we have that. Then step 2, this was what we had originally, but I'm going to rephrase this using the equal sign. And so now I'm going to say take what is in num2 and put it into num1. Okay, which of course gives us this. And finally, the third step, we don't want to say this anymore. We're going to rephrase it, and we're going to say take what is in temp and put it into num2, which obviously gives us this. All right, so again, whenever you see this equal sign, okay, I want you to think about a left hand side and the right hand side. Okay, and you're going to check what is on the right hand side, and you're going to take that and put it into the left hand side. All right. Okay, so with that in mind, let's do a quick exercise. Okay, let's test your understanding. So I currently have 4 variables, aka boxes. So the first box is called val1. It has high in it. Val2 has orange in it. Val3 has 11 in it, and val4 has 22 in it. Okay, so what would happen if I saw this instruction? Val4 equal val3. What does that really mean? Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video. Okay, so if you're watching this, pause the video, and I want you to think about what would happen to those 2 boxes. What would happen to them if you did this operation? Okay, so let's see what would happen. Again, how would I interpret this? I would start off on the right hand side. What is in val3? Well, it has 11. Okay, so I'm going to take that 11 and I'm going to put it into val4. Okay, val4 has 22. So I expect that this 22 will be destroyed and 11 will be in there. Okay, 11, 11. Good. What would happen if I did val1 equal val2? Okay, so pause the video and see what the result would be. How do these 2 boxes change? Okay, so let's look at the result. Okay, we have orange and orange, which should make sense because you're taking what is in val2, which is orange, and you're putting it into val1, which currently has high. But remember, moving one value into another box destroys the current value that is in there. And that's why we get orange, orange. Okay, so I hope that made sense. The key takeaway from this lesson is that when we want to store some value, we put it in a box. Okay, and we can have multiple boxes. Okay, and if I want to move one value from one box to another, then when I move that value to the new box, the current value in the new box will be overwritten. And keep in mind, all right, it's only when we move something that is overwritten. And keep in mind that what is in val2 in this case is preserved. All right, so it's a one-way operation. When I move this orange in here, then yes, the high gets overwritten. However, the orange in this box still stays there. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's only the one that the value is going into that is affected. So I hope that made sense. Okay, so I will stop this video here because we're finished with lesson 2, and I will see you in lesson 3.